Hello, Avi. Welcome to LinkedIn Live. How you doing today?
Doing awesome, Bennett. How are you?
Good. It's a little freezing up here in Philly. I know by you in Florida, it's a little sunnier, but we had some nice 10-degree weather, some pipes frozen over the Shabbos. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, yeah. We had about a low front of 60s. So
Okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. My in-laws are in Florida right now. They're like, yes, it's a little rainy today. I'm like, you know what? You're not freezing yourself. That's
exactly.
awesome. Okay, great. So I'm so excited to do this with you tonight. I know we were talking last week about really working with one another, trying to get this LinkedIn Live thing going, just because I think we both have lots to offer the world, and lots of things going on. And I'm excited to really see where this takes us, and to really just introduce ourselves to the world, because I think there's so many people out there who might even see us on LinkedIn, but just don't really get exactly what we do.
Right.
And I think I know you're like a really nice guy. So even if people just want to reach out to you, ask you questions, they can definitely, for sure, look to do that. Hello, Mordechai. Welcome. And everybody else who is watching on LinkedIn Live. So I guess before we begin, I guess let's just tell everybody what type of coach you are. What do you do? Who do you help? What's going on?
Absolutely. So I pretty much help people that are dealing with super overwhelmed, stressed. They don't know what to do in terms of their projects, prioritizing. They feel like their task lists are never getting finished. They feel like they're struggling with balancing both their family life and their professional lives, and really just trying to get them from that overwhelm and to help them really build a solid system that's personalized for them, their life circumstances, their specific needs to help them really just not just drown in all the responsibilities we have, but to really be able to not just keep their head afloat, but to thrive in those circumstances. And it's my personal journey, which how I got into this, because I actually did have that experience. I mean, I thought I was a pretty organized person in general, at least when I was single. Then I got married, then I had kids, and I started working full time. I was trying to build a business, and the amount of responsibilities that all of a sudden get thrust upon you, it was just completely overwhelming. I was also in college, and I was getting constantly asking for extensions from my professors because I couldn't keep up with everything going on. I remember vividly my phone had 45 different alarms set each day, and I would just snooze them all because I didn't know where to start. And once you don't know where to start, you get overwhelmed. You're like, I just can't do anything. So I've been through that journey. Thank God I took courses, I took trainings. I realized that I just need to get my life in order. And because I was able to learn the skills and the tools to take me from that literally drowning, to thriving, I started helping people do the same thing, and I love it.
That's amazing. And it's amazing. I think it's really incredible because everybody's going through a lot and everybody has a lot of things, whether you're married, whether you're single. Our days tend to get filled with stuff. And the question is, what is that stuff? And it's hard because a lot of times, family is a high priority on the list. Our businesses are a high priority on the list. And
Right.
sometimes you need to really just juggle that and figure that out, and really see, okay, how is it that I can actually make this all work? Because we hear these these legends of people who are able to thrive in all areas of their life, right? And we
Right.
think it's possible. We see people, it's possible. We see people talk about it being possible. And the question is, how do we actually have that balance in our life to really be able
Right.
to do all that?
Right. And I think just to one point that you mentioned before, our days get filled up with all our responsibilities. I think what I've noticed for myself and for people I've worked with, the difference between success and non-success is whether our days are being filled up for us or we are filling up our days.
Mm-hmm.
If what our intentionality is during those times, that really makes all the difference. Like one example that I vividly I use all the time, and it really struck me, was one of my favorite authors, Nir Eyal, has the
Sure.
book Indistractable. And he really talks about that most of us are really not distracted at all during the day, because the distraction really comes from, if it's taking us from, if it's just whether it's a notification or whether it's a person is distracting us from a specific task that we know we're supposed to be doing, then that's a distraction. Oftentimes we don't have a specific clear plan on what we're actually supposed to be doing, so everything's a distraction because we don't have clarity on where we're going. So if we are specific and intentional with what we're supposed to be doing during the day at different times during the day, and again, being intentional with relaxation is amazing. It's not a negative thing. It's as if we're intentional to watch Netflix for an hour, that's great. If we're not intentional and instead of doing actual meaningful work, then we go to Netflix for an hour, that's a distraction.
For sure. And that's one of the things I always tell my clients is like, it's nice to like go and do things, but if you don't know where you're going, then like, you're never going to get there. So like, it's like, if I tell you, I'll be like, hey, meet me in Philly, like Philly's a big place. And like, for you to actually meet me, like you could maybe make it to Philly, but like, where are you going to find me? And unless I give you like my address, like this is where I am, like you really can't get to me or to find me. So same thing with us, with our goals and our desires in our life. And a lot of people don't think about it. Like they say, I want to make money. I want to make, 5 million, $10 million, or whatever it is. But like, how do you want to be making the $5 or $10 million, right? You want to have meaningful relationships with the people around you. Like what type of relationship is a meaningful one to you? And getting
Right.
real clarity on that end goal will definitely allow you to then structure your day in a way. How can I be intentional? And I love that word intentional because I was listening to a podcast by Brendan Bouchard, and he was talking about how Oprah, everybody loves Oprah and how amazing she is, right? How one of the things she asks before every single meeting she has with anybody is, what is our intention of this meeting? And she's like, I don't want to like any fluff. Like what, like Tachlis, like what are we doing right now? Like what is the intention right now? Because if we can make it intentional, then we can be more productive with what we're doing. And if
Right.
people could just be intentional about their days, even if it's like, again, I need to spend 8-9 hours of my day at work doing that. But when I'm home for the 2-3 hours at night, like what's my intention there? Am I present with my family? Am I at my family? Am I with them, or is like my mind at work and my family, and I'm here, and I'm a big Jim Rohn guy, and Jim Rohn always talks about how, when you're at work, and when you're at play, and you can't mix the two. And it's usually like when we're at work, we're thinking about our vacation, but when we're at vacation, we're thinking about our work. And really getting intentional about what we're doing and really looking to do those things that we're looking to do is huge. And it's such a big game changer that most people don't really recognize or know.
Right, absolutely. And also one thing we were talking about meetings being intentional. One of the things that I found when I was working in a corporate job was also oftentimes I would come out of a meeting and we have all these action steps, but they were never assigned to anyone. There's no specific to-do list for anyone. It was just like, okay, we need to make sure that we're doing this project and that project, but not coming out with specific, clear, what's my next action within those projects. Like, so, okay, if I know that this person needs to take A, B, C, and steps, and the other person is responsible to follow up with them in 3 days from now, making sure that we are also not just intentional going into the meeting, but also intentional with closing out the meeting and saying, okay, now in practicality, what is actually going to happen as a result, and how we know that we reach the finish line with the tasks that need to be done.
Right. Yeah, I think that's huge. And I think, like I said earlier, like whatever area or stage of you are at life, like this is always going to be something that you need. And it seems amazing that like this is actually like what you do. Like you help people break that down, get intentional with their lives to really help them. And sometimes it's just like a little, strategy, or a little like, okay, let's just get organized.
Yeah.
And then things can like really blossom and fly, which is like really, really incredible.
Absolutely. And how about you, man? How did you get into coaching? What's your coaching?
So I've been involved in education over the past decade, and I was always more into the informal education. So not necessarily like sitting in front of the classroom and teaching, but more working with students behind the scenes, whether it's in the cafeteria or gym, or like coaching them in basketball. My coaching hat that I've ever had, and then really working with people to really embrace their lives. And there was a time in my life where I was working with post high school students, and then as they went on to college, when they were in college and trying to figure out what they wanted to do with their careers, even when they were in their careers trying to figure out what to do, they needed some guidance and some help. And I was like, hey, like I'd love to help you. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I can make this into a career. Like this is phenomenal. Like I'd love doing this aspect of education and really helping people, because a lot of it is just giving the person space and really having them and challenging them and pushing them and saying maybe uncomfortable things. And, I like working with CEOs who are, already successful. So most people who are driven or high performance, like they know there's another level that they can go. Like most people from the outside think and look at them and say, you know what, like you're so successful. And they're like, no, like I'm just getting started. And like
Right.
that's who we love to work with because they know that there's another level or two that they can actually reach. And with those people, challenging them because most people don't challenge them because they look at them as quote unquote successful is really where they can thrive. And you know, they like I
Right.
love the line where like if you want to get something done, ask a busy person because those people are the ones that get stuff done. And those are the people that I love working with because I know that there's always another level that they can take it to and really helping them see that, achieve that, and really get to that level. That's incredible.
Right. It's interesting because also a lot of times people feel like they already have everything put together if they've reached that threshold, and it could be they have the specific the practical skill sets, but there's so much mindset and there's so much other components that you can add to that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yeah, and there is interesting because there's one client of mine who, you know, has a multi-million dollar company and he was doing really well. And then like something happened in like his, you know, personal life with like with his spouse. And
mhm.
everything like did not matter. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was like trying to figure it out. So
Right.
he needed to realize and to recognize that, you know what, you need to like have everything balanced. And like you said, like you like figuring out different areas of different people's lives. Like I love like working with people, not just like only in their business, but like I'm a huge believer that everything's connected. You know what I'm saying? Like we all
Right.
know when our health is not great, then like our business is not as good as it could be, our relationships aren't good as it be, and like really balancing everything out to making sure, okay, we are doing what we can do because people love saying, oh, if you do this one thing, like you're gonna succeed, or this one thing. And I'm like, yes, but like it's a collective group of like different things that we can do. We start
Right.
doing that and start pushing one another, then we can really take it to like the next level.
Right. So your clients, they generally come to you because they're professional ambitions and that leads into the personal lives, or it's more vice versa.
Yeah, I would say most of the time that ends up happening. You know, they do want to step it up in their businesses, and then the other stuff comes in. And I think that happens with like a lot of coaches, honestly, that I've been
Right.
speaking to, because you know someone's not going to hire a business coach for like their relationship, but then like when I was one time talking to a client, and then he's telling me how overwhelmed he is with when he comes home with all his kids and his spouse is so demanding of his time and whatnot. Like you need to talk about that because that is affecting his business. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So I think it's all at the end of the day, I think it's all effective.
Right. Yeah. And I have the same thing. It happens to be some clients come to me for their personal lives, a variety of different people, but
Right.
the majority are really like, you know what? I'm so swamped with my work responsibilities. And at the same time, why am I, why am I not committing to all the commitments I have in my personal life as well, and or whether my work is leading too much in my personal life, and
Right.
therefore setting boundaries or being more efficient at work so I could relax at home. And that's really where a lot of my intertwining comes with personal and professional.
Right. No, for sure. Do you work one on one only? Or do you have a group? What does that look like?
So I'm doing one-on-one right now, and my one-on-one is really, again, like I could right now put on some sort of curriculum for different types of the mainstream clients, but I find currently that there's so many like personalized experiences with my clients, again depending on their specific occupations, depending on their working style, depending on their family relationships and their situations. Having the same skill sets for a single person, a single man in their early 20s who's a solopreneur and he's doing his own thing, and his productivity looks very different than a 45-year-old lady who is a CEO of a company with multiple employees, and husband's going through medical situation and needs to know how to best balance boundaries, both personal and professional. So very different kind of
Right.
scenarios, both needing personalized assistance with their productivity skill sets.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what's like your if you have to say like your specialty or your superpower in terms of like what like you could work with in terms of helping people?
So my ideal client really, am I the people that I've helped the most are the people that I can resonate with the most. And on my LinkedIn profile, I have that I work with busy dads. Again, I work with all different clientele that they come and ask for assistance, but because I can relate so much to the the specific challenges of a busy dad, overwhelmed in terms of my own personal experience, and with dealing with familial responsibilities. And as a father, you're dealing also with child rearing assistance and playing your part in the family role as the head of the household or co-head of the household, and also trying to balance building a career. And they're typically in their 30s, the 30s decade, where you're trying to still scale your career and still you're starting a family at the same time. So a lot of those specific areas where you're just feeling so overwhelmed because of both your personal and professional responsibilities are just greatly increasing during that decade, is really my sweet spot, because I've been there. I know what it's like, and I love sharing what helped me to help other people.
Right. No, for sure.
And you?
Yeah, I mean, I think most coaches, really help out with where they can actually relate to people. I do. It's interesting. I do have one client who's a 69-year-old woman. So I don't think I can relate to that. But the fact that she is striving and trying to do a lot and trying to even how she's looking to start a business and to like really pursue and to move forward with certain things, which is like really, really incredible. And actually, honestly, it's inspiring to me to see that, age is just a number, and like you can still continue to grow and do the things that you're looking to do, which is really something incredible. But one of the actually cool things, totally didn't mean to do this, but one of the cool things that I did, I actually wrote a book. Totally plugging my book right here. Lost and Found. Definitely look at that on Amazon.
I got that.
Change your life. I am not a reader, so I made it very easy to be read. I don't even think I said that grammatically correct, right? But you can actually read it very, very easily. It's less than $10. It's honestly a joke, and like all my secrets are in here. So feel free to.
I just finished it this past weekend. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of like tidbits in different areas, which really just like it really gets your mind thinking about all the different things that you can, whether it's the limiting beliefs or the building small healthy habits, and really just all those areas where it just it awakens you to the fact that I have more power than I'm giving myself credit for.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very empowering for anyone reading. I highly recommend it.
Appreciate it. Me too. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's something I worked on, which is really cool to have that out.
So what inspired you to write the book?
Like I said earlier, I was not a reader. Like, I think my first books I read was Harry Potter, and I was in college. It was like years after it came out, and I'm like, I have to read this. I can't not go through my life not reading it. So I ended up reading Harry Potter, which is a long book, but it was also like a great one. Once I started getting into like this whole personal development world, I started actually reading. And I think for me, the biggest switch was I don't have to finish a book I don't like. Like, when you're going to school, like you have a book, you have to finish it to write a book report, right? Or a textbook, like you're reading because you need to read it, even if you're not interested in it. So I started picking books that I was actually only interested in. Like, oh, let me like pick up a finance book, like a really cool finance book. And like Rich Dad, Poor Dad was one of the first books I read. And it was like a little bit of a story form. Like, this is amazing. The Richest Man in Babylon. That's an incredible book. It's a story, but it talks a lot about finance. And then I started to see like, oh, wow, there are like actually like really cool books out there that you can pick up. So when I started like formulating, putting my things together, I remember it was over the weekend. I was on my way to synagogue, and I was thinking like, oh, I should write a book. And it like literally like clicked. And for the 10-minute walk that I had, I was like really putting everything out and putting everything together. And then I put in pieces together. I'm actually going to do a webinar, hopefully, about how to write a book if somebody's interested in writing books. So stay tuned if anybody's interested in that. But really to do that. And then, I mean, there's a whole process in terms of like, self-publish or actually with a publisher. And like, there's a lot of different pieces in terms of finding. And I spoke to a lot of really nice people who were willing to guide me and help me, who I didn't know. I actually met a bunch of them on LinkedIn. And it was really incredible just to see how many people were willing to like really just help, guide and whatnot and do it. And especially with Amazon nowadays, it happens to be very easy. However easy it is, it's also easy not to do. That it's easy to do and it's easy not to do. So the fact, I had my coaches on my back and whatnot pushing me to get this stuff done. And yeah, thank God I was able to pull it out.
Amazing.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I don't know if I'll write another one, but I probably will. Just because
Yeah,
I got to
you
do
push
it.
yourself. Push yourself. Get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that the difference between school and real life is that real life you have more of a choice in terms of books, so you have to finish or not. I was thinking about it like a couple of months ago about like why when we're in school, when in a school setting, which relates to my clientele, is that we tend to, again, there are certain kids in the school that have a hard time finishing by the deadlines and ask for extensions, but in general every student that goes through school is finishing the projects that are assigned to them. And so the question is why, when real life comes, is it where we have a struggle with finishing the projects that come to us? And it hit me that in a similar vein to what you're talking about with finishing the book, is that when we're in school, we have to do every project that's assigned to us. Right? We have to make sure that every homework, every test, every quiz, every book report needs to be finished. Just the question is when will I prioritize this project, tonight's homework versus researching my science fair project, or will I prioritize the science fair project over my homework? When it comes to real life, though, we start to, as you get into adulthood, you start to have projects that you don't even have to necessarily do, right? It could be something that I'm going to choose not to do it, or something that I must do, and there's something that I might want to do in the future, but I'm not sure. And that book that you put together, it sounds like it was something that was never really an option for you to begin with. And all of a sudden you had that idea, and now you're in that dilemma. Like, do I want to actually complete the book? Do I want to write it? Will I gain from it in terms of getting out of my comfort zone, being able to share value with people? And it's very easy to procrastinate that decision, which kudos to you. It's a huge undertaking, and you're able to do it because you were intentional with, I want to choose to do this project at the expense of other projects that I'm not going to do at the moment. And it's an incredible realization that it hit me, that because we have that power to do a lot more with our lives, we have the extra ability to really tap into new projects and exciting initiatives. That also comes with the challenge of, there's so many options I could do. And I work with a lot of creatives who have hundreds and hundreds of creative ideas, and then choosing which ones to do, which not to do. All of a sudden, we didn't necessarily have that challenge beforehand. So that's why we celebrate accomplishments a lot more, because in school we're forced into doing all the projects, and in life we have to specifically say no to some projects and jump into other ones.
100%. And it's just so much you said that, because a week and a half ago I had another idea of like this community that I'm trying to put together, and I was like, am I going to go all in? Am I going to do this right? Or am I like going to do this like halfly and then just like not end up doing it? And it was hard because like, I'm like, I really want to do this and I think it could be really cool. But on the other hand, like if I don't do it right, if I don't like know this is like a 2-3 year plan, like it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to need to have that patience. I'm going to need to really recognize like everything that's going to go into it, all like the managing, the money I'm going to have to put into it that I might not be making back for years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like realize that like, okay, like, is this something that I want to do? And then like a question that was interesting to me that I asked myself was like, in 5 years from now, like, would I be happy I did this or not? And it's a good way to like, sort of like ask yourself, like, is this something that you're willing to do? You know what I'm saying? Like for the book, you know, I sat down and like the actual text that I wrote, I said, I'm gonna give myself a month. I literally wrote the book in a month, right? I prepped a little bit beforehand, but the actual typing like took a month. And I'm going to talk about that in my webinar. And then, okay, then I had the editors look at it, but like once the editors are looking at it, it's just me correcting it. You know what I'm saying? If I like it, not like whatever they have to say. And it was something that I think everybody, you know, should, you know, we all have these questions. What priorities, like what priorities do we really want? And if we can start to think like, no, these are the things I want to do. And these are things I don't want to do. And that's totally fine. We don't have to do everything, you know, like successful people say no to more things than yes. And if it's not like a heck yes, then it's like, no, it's not like, I'm not doing it, you know, even if like, if you feel like, oh, I feel guilty not doing this, or maybe I should do this. If like, you're not excited about the idea, then especially when you get to a certain level, like you shouldn't be doing it because you only have a certain amount of time in your day.
Right. And you definitely have to be all in. And also, you also have to have it at the same time as being fully committed to, you also have to have that acceptance that it's not going to be perfect, especially in the beginning. And one of my favorite quotes, and that really inspired me throughout my coaching journey, is that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Meaning, if you're expecting to have everything perfect and all your ducks lined up in a row perfectly before you take initiative in anything, then you're never going to start.
Yep.
And just jumping in and learning as you go, jumping into the deep end, again, making sure that you have proper setup beforehand. Obviously, you can't just jump in without knowing anything, without being prepared at all. But if you wait till the perfect moment, and I'm sure you talk about it with your clients all the time, there's never going to be a perfect moment. Life's always busy. Even just going through the school schedule for your kids, right? You go from summer break where they're out of school to just going back into school, and then there's a holiday break, and then there's going back to school, and then there's always a transition time. There's never going to be a perfect time. And coming to that realization that if I'm waiting for everything to be perfect, if I have to have everything 100% set up beforehand, I'm never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And it's honestly one of the things that hold people back so much, is just the perfectionism. And it's hard, especially because like when you're going in knowing that it's not going to be perfect, like, it's going to be like rough sometimes. You know what I'm saying? There are going to be the days that you're just going to like hit in the gut again and again and again and again, and recognizing like, got to keep moving forward, got to keep making it happen. And then I'm a big believer, if you're persistent and consistent enough, like you'll get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think many people are, nowadays, you could be, a millionaire overnight doing this one thing, go, get famous, influencer, this and that. This stuff takes time. And you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, there are those like random people, but the reason why it's such a big idea that those people become famous is because that's not the norm. You know what I'm saying? And like, plan for what you could do, stay consistent, persistent, and you'll get to wherever it is that you want to get to.
Yeah, and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's definitely is a tremendous, getting out of your comfort zone is crucial for that. And also to understand that rejection is part of it's just a step towards your goal. I remember I was doing a different business prior to coaching. I reached out to a potential client for that business, and they gave me a pretty harsh no. And I remember it was a setback for me. Like, it really stung, and I could have just said, you know what, maybe I'm just not qualified for this. Maybe it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was very easy to just give up in the moment and say, you know what, forget it. Thankfully, I dwelled on it for only, I would say about 15, 20 minutes. After that, I realized, well, think about all the people I am helping, and think about all the people that I am making succeed in whatever industry I was doing, which again has really led for me in coaching as well. Like, you're going to have clients that get on a call with them and they say, you know what, I've reached a point where I'm not interested in investing so much in myself. And you also have clients who just never will get on the phone and they'll ghost you. At the same time, those that are staying strong are really the ones that really motivate you to keep going, and knowing that you can make an impact on them and their families and their lives makes all the difference in the work that we do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, the biggest word is impact. And if you can make a big impact, that's what we're looking to do.
Absolutely.
Amazing, Avi. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
100%. I was just going to say that.
And all right, we'll see everybody on the other side. If anybody is not following Avi yet or connected with him, please connect with him. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Avi or myself. We'd love to be able to help out. All right, everybody. Absolutely. Have a good evening.
You too.